Let's factor the numerator and denominator. So look at the numerator. We have x cubed, 5x squared, and 6x. We have a common factor x. Factor out x, what's left? X squared plus 5x minus 6. Denominator, we gotta factor it. What are factors of 3x squared? It could be 3x and x. What are factors of 2? It could be 1 and 2. But which combination gives us negative 5x? Let's try. If we put 2 here and 1 here, okay, what happened? And let's both put minus because we want to have negative 5x. Oh, let's see. We get negative 3x and multiply the inside, we get negative 2x. Add them up together. Yep, we in fact get negative 5x. So this is the factoring. But we're not done because the numerator we haven't factored completely. So we have x and x minus 6. It could be 1 and 6 or 2 and 3, right? And because it's negative x, one of them should be negative. Therefore, we try negative 1 and positive 6. Would that work? We multiply the outside, we get 6x. Multiply the inside, we get minus x. And then when we add them up together, we get 5x. So this is the factoring. And denominator 3x plus 2, 3x minus 2 and x minus 1. We cancel x minus 1, therefore we get x times x plus 6 over 3x minus 2. Alright, so this is number 1, the first problem. If you can understand, could you type 1 in the chat? Okay.
Wait.
Good.
Yes. I see where we factored it the first time. Why did we factor it the second time, like all the way on the right?
You want to factor completely because you factored the first time. This is degree 2. We didn't factor completely. If you factor completely, all the factors should have degree 1.
So we factored again what you just circled, like the x2 part. We factored that piece again.
We factor this quadratic factor,
Yeah.
x squared plus 5x minus 6 again.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can factor completely. Okay, completely means if you're able to express it as the product of 2 linear factors, please do that. For some quadratic factor, maybe you're not able to factor it, but if you get stuck there, you can leave it there. For example, if you have like x squared minus x and then plus 4, something like that, and how can you tell whether you can factor it or not? You look at the discriminant. Discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. B here, b is like the coefficient of x, which is minus 1. So minus 1 squared minus 4a. A is the coefficient of x squared, which is 1. And c is the constant term, which is 4. You see this is 1 minus 16, which is negative 50. This is negative, which means we have no real solution. We have 2 complex solutions. Therefore, the x squared minus x plus 4 cannot be factored. Okay? Cannot be factored with real coefficients. It can be factored with complex coefficients, but for real coefficients, we cannot factor it. Okay? But in this problem, x squared plus 5x minus 6, you can go further and factor as x minus 1 times x plus 6. Okay? Good. Yep. And then problem 2. we look at the numerator. So t and t, right? The factors of t squared. -6. We want to get the middle term is -t. So -6, we take -3 and +2. Multiply the outside, we get 2t. Multiply the inside, we get -3t. Add them up together, we get -t. And then the denominator. Well, denominator, we have t and t. 9, it could be 1 and 9 or 3 and 3. But looks like 3 and 3 will work because 3t and 3t, add them up together, you get 6t. And then multiply by t plus 3 and t squared minus 4. When you see difference of square, we remember that formula. Difference of square, a times b, a plus b times a minus b. So t squared minus 4 is like t squared minus 2 squared. So we get t plus 2 and t minus 2. Alright, so this is a factoring. And we cancel the common factors. The common factors are t plus 3 and t plus 2. Therefore, we get t minus 3 left upstairs. Downstairs, we have t plus 3 and t minus 2. So we want to factor completely and cancel the common factors. And keep your answer in the factor form. Okay? Keep your answer in the factor form. Do not multiply out. Okay. If you can understand number 2, could you type 2 in the chat?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
At the beginning of number 2, when you have the t minus 3 and the t plus 2, if you switch the order of that, does that matter at all? Like if you had t plus 2 and then t minus 3?
It does not matter. For multiplication, is commutative. So which means 2 times 3 is 3 times 2. We can switch the order.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. But be careful. Don't put t minus 2 and t plus 3, and then this won't be correct. Okay, we cannot switch the order of these two terms, but you have to switch the entire factor. You can switch the order of the entire factor. Okay. All right, and then number 3. Number 3, we have fractions. So simplify means combine them into a single fractions. Well, first of all, we want to figure out what is the least common denominator. Okay, can you factor? The first fraction, x is x, we cannot factor further. 2x squared plus 3, we cannot factor further. Remember I asked you, if you have sum of square, it cannot be factored. Okay. And then the third one, the third fractions, you see the common factor is x. And then we have 2x squared plus 3. Therefore, the least common denominator is x times 2x squared plus 3. And make sure it is not 0, because that is the domain. So you set each factor cannot be 0. Okay? But look at the left-hand side. You know x squared is always greater or equal to 0. So x squared plus 3, your left term, is always positive. It won't be 0. Okay? So this is not 0. Therefore, we only get x not equal to 0. Okay. And then we simplify. Okay, we want to multiply the first fraction by 2x squared plus 3. And then the second fraction, we want to get the least common denominator. So we need x there. So we multiply by x. And then the third one is perfect because that's what we want is already x times 2x squared plus 3. This is what we want. Okay, now we can combine them. The first one is negative, so it's negative of the 2x squared plus 3, right? And so don't forget the negative, okay? You can move the negative up here. And then plus the 2x and plus 1. Can we simplify? Yes. We distribute the negative. We get negative 2x squared minus 3 plus 2x plus 1. Denominator, copy it. Okay, now combine the like terms. You see, we get negative 2x squared plus 2x minus 3 plus 1 is negative 2. And we're not done yet because if you're able to factor it. You see the numerator, we have a common factor 2. Okay, and you see the leading coefficient is negative. So let's factor out negative 2. Then we get x squared, and then the middle term, it becomes minus. Because we factor out the negative, we have to change the sign. And then minus 2 becomes plus 1. Okay, can we factor further? Well, how do we check? How do we check whether we can factor further? Look at the discriminants. B squared minus 4ac. B is minus 1. A is the coefficient of x squared, which is like 1. C is 1. Therefore, 1 minus 4 is negative 3, which is negative. If the discriminant is negative, then this is an irreducible quadratic factor. Irreducible quadratic factor cannot be reduced. Reduced means it can be expressed as a product of two linear factors. So which means we cannot factor further. So we cannot factor further. Cannot factor further. Okay, so therefore this is the final answer. And this is problem 3. If you can understand 3, could you type 3 in the chat? Good. Okay, we keep going. Number 2, find the equation of the line parallel. So we have two lines are involved. Let's say this is the line, let's call it line 2. Okay, this is line 2, and let's call this is line 1. The two lines they are parallel. So let's figure out the slope of the first line. So line 1, negative 7x plus 3y equals to 2. To find the slope, you want to get slope-intercept form, which means you want to solve for y. Okay, so solve for y. So we add 7x on both sides. We get 3y equals 7x plus 2. And then both sides divided by 3. We get y equals 7 over 3x plus 2 over 3. And you see, this is the slope. So slope M1 is 7 over 3. And because L1 is parallel to L2, M2, if two lines are parallel, they have the same slope. So M2 is also 7/3. Okay, we know the slope of line 2, and we know it passed through the points -6 and -15. Then we use the point slope form. So point slope form. Y minus the y coordinate of the point equals the slope times x minus the x coordinate of the point. And our y coordinate of the point is -15. Our slope 7/3. Our x0 is the x coordinate of the point, which is -6. Therefore, y plus 15 is 7/3 times x plus 6. Distribute. We get 7/3 x. Distribute. 7/3 times 6. 3, 6 cancel. We get 2. 2 times 7 is 14. And then both sides subtract 15. We get y equals 7/3 x. And then 14 minus 15 is -1. So this is the answer of part A. If you can understand part A, could you type A in the chat? Thank you. Okay, so we keep going. And part B. It's almost the same thing, but now we ask perpendicular. Okay, so we already figured out M1 is 7/3, right? And then they are perpendicular. So line 1 is perpendicular to line 2. And then the slope are negative reciprocal. So -7 third reciprocal is 3/7. All right. So, and then they pass through the same points. So y minus the y coordinates, -15, equals the slope, -3/7, x minus the x coordinates, -6. So we get y plus 15 equals -3/7, x plus 6. Y plus 15, -3/7, x. Distribute, -3 times 6 is 18/7. Subtract 15 on both sides. Wow. What is that? -3/7x. Okay. When you plug in your calculator, try to get fractions, okay? Or try to calculate on your own. So you get -18/7 and -15. Well, 15 you multiply by 7 divided by 7. So you get 18 plus 5 times 7, 35. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 plus 3 is 10. So 105 plus 18 is 123. Right, everybody? So we got this answer. Okay, so this is the line perpendicular to our first line and passing through the point -6, -15. If you can understand this, could you type B in the chat? Okay, good. Let's keep going. Alright. By the way, your practice exam has a lot of problems. Your actual exams will have fewer problems than these, so you won't see that many. Okay? But I won't tell you which one I'm going to test you on. So I want to give you more problems, and then I want to pick some to test you on the actual exam. Okay, determine whether the following pairs of lines is parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Let's find the slope. Okay, so For number 1, find the slope, which means we want to solve for y. Okay? Then you get a slope-intercept form. So 3x minus 5y equals negative 1. Subtract 3x. Get negative 5y is negative 3x minus 1. Both sides divided by negative 5. We get y equals negative negative cancel. So 3 over 5x. Negative negative cancel. We get 1 over 5. So the slope is 3 over 5, and the y-intercept is 1/5. Okay. Second line, 10x plus 6y equals 3. Subtract 10x. Then we have 6y equals negative 10x plus 3. Both sides divided by 6. We get y equals negative 10 over 6x plus 3 over 6. Cancel the common factor. The common factor is 2. So cancel the 2, we get 5 over 3. Common factor of 3 and 6. Common factor is 3. Cancel the 3, we get 1/2. And then look at the slope. You see the slope is 3 over 5. Here, the slope is negative 5/3. They are negative reciprocal. So therefore, those two lines are perpendicular. Okay, so this is part C. If you can understand part C, type C in the chat.
Can you explain how they're perpendicular?
Oh, okay. So if line 1 parallel to line 2, then the slope are the same. And if line 1 and line 2 are perpendicular, so they form a 90-degree angle, then the product of the two slope equals -1. Therefore, m1 is -1 over m2. They are negative reciprocal. See, 3 over 5 and negative 5/3 is negative reciprocal.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, good. Here, find the x and y intercept. So find the x-intercept. Well, x-intercept is where the curve crosses the x-axis. That means we set the y equal to 0. You know the x-axis, the y is 0. The y-axis corresponds to x is 0. So set the y is 0, we get 3x equals -6. Oh, divided by 3, we get x is -2. Remember in your quest, x-intercept is a point, so -2, 0. The y-coordinate is 0. And then to find the y-intercept, we set the x is 0. So we get 3 times 0 plus 2y equals -6. Both sides divided by 2, we get y equals -3. So the y-intercept, x-coordinate is 0, y-coordinate is -3. And then sketch the graph. -2, 0. X is -2, y is 0. 0, -3. X is 0, y is -3. And then connect them together. So this is the line. Two lines can fix a line. Sorry, two points can fix a line. Right. Okay, so this is problem 3. If you can understand this, could you type 3 in the chat? Good. Okay, let's keep going. Alright, find the real solutions of the following. When you solve for polynomial equations, move all terms to the left and then factor. Okay, so in this case, well, you see, we need to distribute. So 3x times x, 3x squared. 3x times 1 is 3x equals 2. So distribute and move this to the left. So subtract 2. Okay, you might ask, why do we want to distribute? Are we supposed to factor it? Well, the problem is your right-hand side is 2. So if the right-hand side is 2, it's not 0, then you're not ready to factor the left-hand side. Because if a times b is 0, even only if a is 0 or b is 0. This is only true for 0. If you have a times b is 2, it doesn't tell us that a is 2 or b is 2, which is wrong. Because think about it, you can have 4 times 1/2, that will give you 2. So neither a and b, they're not 2, right? So therefore, we cannot factor the left-hand side because the right-hand side is not 0. That's why always our first step is move all terms to the left-hand side. Then we factor. Okay, the order very important. Okay, so now we factor. Can we factor it? Let's try. 3x and x. -2. 1 and 2 are, 1 and 2, one of them is negative. Let's try 1 here and 2 here. Oh, what happened? Do you see? We get -2x and 3x. It won't give us 3x in the middle. Therefore, we cannot factor it. Actually, you can try other combinations. You can try 1 here and 2 here. Then you get 6x minus x. You get 5x. So, which doesn't match the middle term 3x. In this case, if you are not able to factor, use the quadratic formula. Okay, so if you cannot factor, use quadratic formula, which is, what's that? Do you remember? Negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So I give you the formula. Make sure you're able to memorize all those formulas. Okay. So negative b is 3 plus or minus b squared, 3 squared, minus 4a, a is 3, c is -2, all over 2a, a is 3. And then -3 plus or minus. Here, 3 squared is 9. And then negative times negative become positive. 4 times 3 is 12. Times 2 is 24. 2 times 3 is 6. Okay. 9 plus 24 is 33. We get -3 plus or minus square root of 33 over 6. You see, this is not an integer. And this is actually irrational numbers. So we cannot factor it. We have to use quadratic formula for this problem. Okay, so that is the extra practice. Okay, so let's see. We keep going. Next problem. We want to move all terms to the left. So subtract 15 on both sides. X to the 6th and plus 2x cubed minus 15 equal to 0. Okay, so this is not a quadratic equation, but do you realize x to the 6th is x cubed squared? Notice that some term is some other term square. Then use u substitution. So let u be the smaller term. Then x to the 6 is u squared. Okay, so x to the 6 is u squared. And then 2 times x cubed is u minus 15 equals 0. Okay, everybody? Alright, let's factor it. Negative 15. It could be 1 and 15, 3 and 5. Which one give us 2? Okay, that is 5 minus 3 will give us 2. So we get a product of 2 factors equal to 0. Then we set each factor equal to 0. And we put OR here. So u is negative 5 or u is 3. And we're not done yet because what is u? U is x cubed. X cubed is negative 5. Well, then x is cube root of negative 5. Okay, which is negative cube root of 5. You can put the negative outside of the cube roots. Or x cubed equals 3, and then x is cube root of 3. So here we get 2 solutions. If you can understand, could you type A in the chat?
This one confused me, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, sure. How do we get u squared? Okay, so we call that, so this is from, let me show you. This is in session 1.6. Okay, maybe let me recall 1.6 notes with you. Okay. So this is 1.6. We talk about how to solve equations involving rational expressions, radical expressions, and absolute values. And then here at the bottom, hidden quadratic. If you recognize some term is the square of some other terms, then you make a u substitution. You let u be the smaller terms. So in this case, do you see x to the negative 4? And here is x to the negative 2. Well, negative 4 is like x to the negative 2 square. Do you recognize that? Can you see x to the negative 4 is x to the negative 2 and then square?
Yeah, I see that.
Then you make u be the smaller term, which is the things inside the square. So you let u be x to the negative 2. And then after you replace it with u, you get, u squared minus 4u and plus 4. And this is a quadratic equation. Then you can solve the quadratic equation and put the x back. And also like this problem. This is x to the 2/3. Well, 2/3 is like x to the 1/3 squared. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So you let u be the smaller term, which is x to the 1/3. Then x to the 1/3 squared become u squared. Now in our problem, you see x to the 6 is like x cubed squared. Therefore, you let u be the inside, the x cubed. Then the x to the 6 become u squared. Because you replace x to the 3rd by u. See, this part, you replace it by u, then you get u squared. So
Okay, I
this is a
see.
hidden quadratic. Okay, good. All right. So keep going. Part B. You can see here we have 3 terms. Do they have common factor? All right. X to the 4th, x cubed, and x squared. Well, the common factor is x squared. So we factor out x squared, we get 14x squared plus 3x and minus 5 equals 0. And then how do we factor it? Well, lots of different combinations. 14, it could be 1 and 14, it could be 2 and 7. Let's try the middle one first. So let's try 7x and 2x. 5, it must be 1 and 5, and one of them is negative. Which one work? Okay, can I put 1 and 5 here? Let's see. This is x, this is 35. See, 35x is too big, so 1 and 5 won't work. Let's switch them. Let's put 5 here and 1 here. Would that work? Yeah, 5 times 2x is 10x. And 7x times minus 1 is negative 7x. So when we add them together, we get 3x in the middle. So this is how we factor it. Now set each factor equal to 0. Solve for x. See, you take the square root on both sides, you get x is square root of x is, square root of 0 is 0. And then here you subtract 5. You get 7x is negative 5. You divide it by 7. You get x is negative 5 over 7. Here you add 1. You get 2x equals 1. So x is 1/2. So we have 3 solutions for this problem. So far, so good. If you can understand part B, could you type B in the chat? Thank you. Okay, great. Keep going. Absolute value. Okay, how do you solve problem involving absolute value? Well, this is the 1.6 handout. How do we do that? Remember, you put a vertical line in the middle, and the first one you kind of replace the absolute value by parentheses. And the second part, you kind of replace the absolute value by negative parentheses of whatever inside. Okay, and you don't do them both, and you find you solve for x, and then at the end you want to check whether the answer is really a solution. You plug in the original equation and see if the left hand side equals the right hand side. So let's come back here. We put a line in the middle. 1, 2. 1, we place absolute value with parentheses. But because the left hand side, this thing is just by itself, so it doesn't matter whether you put the parentheses or not, right? Because it's alone by itself. Okay, and then the right hand side we get 8x plus 5. Well, now it's a quadratic equations. Move all terms to the left. We get 3x squared minus ax and minus 5, right? So subtract ax on both sides and subtract 5 on both sides. And then we get 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Right? And then we keep going. So we have, can we factor it? Let's try. If not, we can use quadratic formula. So 3x and x. Well, negative 3. We can put negative 3 here and positive 1 here. Multiply the outside, we get negative 9x. Multiply the inside, we get x. X minus 9x is negative 8x. So this is the good factoring. And then we set each factor equals 0. Okay, solve for x. Minus 1, we get 3x is negative 1. Divided by 3, we get negative 1/3. Here, add 3 on both sides. We get x is 3. Okay. Let's check at the end. Okay, so let's do the second part, and then we check at the end. We place absolute value by negative parentheses, whatever inside, and then equals ax plus 5. Is that okay, everybody? We place it by negative parentheses. All right. We're gonna distribute. So this is minus 3x squared minus 2 is ax plus 5. Let's see. Questions. Why do we replace it with parentheses? That's the rule. Remember 1.6? When you break an absolute value, can you see my mouse? My mouse is moving here. When you break the absolute value of x equals to a. Well, it could be a, it could be negative a. So you have two possibilities. Therefore, so the first part is like, oh, absolute value of x equals a, then x is a. So you kind of just ignore the absolute value. So it's just x minus 2. But the second part is, it could be negative a. So you replace it with negative parentheses of whatever inside. So you only do this problem with absolute value. Yes. Only do this method with problem with absolute value. Yes. That's why, okay, if we call 1.6, so this is 1.6 worksheets. Every type of problem, we have different rule. For polynomial equations, you move all the terms to the left and then you factor it. For equations involving radical expressions, well, you need to find the LCD first, find the domain, and then you multiply some factors in order to get the LCD, and then you combine them and get rid of the LCD. And then when you solve equations involving radical, you isolate a radical and then square both sides to get rid of the radical. And if you have two radical, that means after you square once, you still get a radical. So you need to isolate this radical and then you square both sides to get rid of both of them. So you gotta repeat this process, okay? If you have two radicals, do this process twice. If you have three radicals, do this process 3 times. So just keep doing that. And if you have absolute value, this is how you do it. You put a line in the middle. And then the first case is you kind of just ignore the absolute value. Replace it with parentheses. The second one, replace it with negative parentheses. So this is how you solve equation involving absolute value. And you gotta check your answers. Plug your answers into the original equation and see if the left-hand side equals the right-hand side. So it depends on the problem. Then you use different methods. Okay? All right. So we want the coefficient of x squared to be positive. Therefore, I will add 3x squared. So we have 3x squared plus 8x. So I'm moving all the terms to the right. So we're adding 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay? You see, this is a quadratic equation. Can we factor it? Not quite. You see, if you put 3x and x, 1, 7. If you put 7, 1, this is 7x, this is 3x, add them up together, we get 10x. We don't get 8x. Or if you put 1 here and 7 here, you get x, 3 times 7, 21x, add them up together, you get 22x. See? Factoring, it does not factor nicely, okay? Factoring doesn't work. In this case, use the quadratic formula. So it's negative b. B is coefficient of x, which is 8, plus or minus square root of b squared. A squared minus 4ac. and then all over 2a, so 2 times 3. Okay, and then we continue. 8 times 8, 64. 4 times 3, 12. 12 times 7. 12 times 7, 10, 7 times 12, 14. 7 times 1, 7. So 84. Oh, you see? This thing inside. 64 minus 84 is negative 20. Square root of negative 20, this is not a real number, so no real solution. We get complex solution. Okay, but the problem is that find real solution. Therefore, oh, you don't look at this. Now, so when we check our work, we only check these two answers. Let's check negative 1/3. Plug in the original. So plug in the original equation. See? 3 times negative 1/3 square plus 2. Is it equal to 8 times negative 1/3 plus 5? Negative 1/3 is 1/9. 1/9 times 3 is 1/3. 1/3 plus 2. Is it equal to negative 1/3 plus 5? Okay, let's check. 1/3 plus 2. You know 2 is like 6/3. 1 plus 6 is 7/3. 7/3 on the left hand side. How about the right hand side? Negative 1/3 plus 5. 5 is like 15/3. Negative 8 plus 15 is 7/3. Yes, check. The left hand side equals the right hand side, so this is a solution. How about x equals to 3? 3 times 3 squared plus 2, absolute value. Is it equals to 8 times 3 plus 5? 3 times 3, 9 times 3, 27 plus 2, 29. Is it equal to 24 plus 5? Yes! Oh, you see, both of them are solutions. So both of them are solutions. So this is part C. If you can understand part C, could you type C in the chat?
Why didn't we use square root of 20?
Because it's complex number. Complex. Remember, in square root of -1 is I. If you have square root of negative number, it's a complex. It's not a real number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good point. Okay. Yes. See, when we do those problems in class, our in-class time is really short. It's just 50 minutes, and we couldn't do much, right? Very detailed in 15 minutes. But after class, when you ask me questions, we can go over in a slower speed. We don't have a time limit, and I can make sure you can understand it. And you can ask me more questions, and then I can answer your questions. So I strongly encourage you to visit my office hours. All right. Part D. This is solving equations involving rational expressions. So what do we need to do? We need to find the least common denominator, right? And set it not equal to 0. And in this problem, it's already factored. So least common denominator is x plus 3 and 5x minus 2. Set it not equal to 0. So we get x plus 3 not equal to 0 and 5x minus 2 not equal to 0. So subtract 3 on both sides. X not equal to -3. Add 2 on both sides. 5x not equal to 2. So x not equal to 2/5. So that is the domain. Now let's multiply each fractions by some appropriate factor to get the common denominator. The first fractions we need to multiply by 5x minus 2. The second one we need to multiply by x plus 3. And the last one, oh, we already get the least common denominator for the last fractions, so don't need to change anything. Okay, now multiply both sides by the least common denominator. So multiply both sides by the least common denominator. We get x times 5x minus 2 minus 2 times x plus 3 equals -5. Distribute 5x squared minus 2x minus 2x minus 6 equals -5. Combine the like terms. 5x squared minus 2x minus 2x is -4x. Let's move the 5 to the left. You see? -6 plus 5 is -1. Okay. Can we factor? Let's try. If we cannot factor, use quadratic formula. -4. Ooh, you see, I get -1 times 5 is -5x plus x is -4x. So this is a factoring. We set each factor equal to 0. So x subtract 1, we get 5x is -1. X is -1/5. Here add 1, x equals to 1. So make sure you check. So check. See, look at the domain. So both of them are in the domain. So both of them are solutions. So both of them are solutions. So far, so good. So make sure you check the domain for radical expressions. Okay, if you can understand this, can you type D in the chat? Let me see. Is checking required or just useful? Required. This is required. Yes. You see, for ABC, for A and B, I didn't check because for polynomial, whatever answer you get, they are the answer. You don't need to plug in and see what happened. You don't need to. But for absolute value, the answer you find is not always the answer. Like we call our in-class example. Okay. Look at this in-class example. Do you see here? Can you see my mouse? The answer you got was 2 and -3. You plug in 2. You realize 2 is not a solution. And here you have 6 and 1. You plug in 6. 6 is not a solution. So not all your answer are the solutions for absolute value. Similar here for radical expressions. Where are my radical expressions? Like this problem. The answer we got was -1 and 3. And then we realized, oh, 3 is not in our domain. So 3 is not a solution. Therefore, we have to check for radical expression, rational expression. Yeah, same thing happened here. For radical expression, after we get the answer, we need to check, because look at this problem. We plug in the 2. Left hand side is not equal to the right hand side, so this is not an answer. Okay, where do we put the potential answers into the last problem? This problem, the one with rational expression. Okay. Oh, we don't plug in. Okay, so let me see. I don't want to move this. Okay. Yes. You don't plug in the equation. What you're doing, you're just comparing with. Sorry, my word is not responding. Okay, you're just comparing with the domain. You see the domain? X not equal to -3, X not equal to 2/5, and our answer was -1/5 and 1. They are in our domain. So you don't need to plug in the equations. See, if you plug in the equation, it takes a long time. This is a lot. You don't plug in that. You just check the domain. That's why the first step we were doing, we find the domain. With the domain, x cannot be -3 and x cannot be the 2/5, right? Yeah, you get excellent points, because for absolute value, you do plug in the original equations. But for radical expression, you do not plug in the original equation. You just check whether it's in the domain. And for radical expressions, you do plug into the original equations. Yeah, good points. So you can write down the notes here. You plug in the original equations. Yeah. Okay, so radical. Isolate the radical. And then square both sides. So isolate it, we add x on both sides. Okay, then square it. When we square it, square and square root cancel. 5x plus 6 is x plus 2 squared. Well, if you are familiar with the formula, a plus b squared is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Then x plus 2 squared is x squared plus 2 times x times 2 plus 2 squared. Therefore, 5x plus 6 is x squared plus 4x plus 4. If you're not familiar with this formula, it's okay. You just put it as x plus 2 times x plus 2, and then you do, x times x is x squared, x times 2 is 2x, 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 2 is 4. You can also do it that way. And then move all the terms on one hand side. So let's move the 5x. And we move the 6, so subtract 6. Then we have x squared, 4x minus 5x is negative x. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. That equals 0. So we have x and x. Minus 2 plus 1 will work, right? Because minus 2x plus x is negative x. Set each factor equals 0. We get x is 2 or x is minus 1. For radical expression, you need to check, which means we want to plug in the original equation. So let's check x equals to 2. Square root of 5, x is 2, plus 6 minus x, x is 2. Is it equal to 2? 2 times 5 is 10. 10 plus 6. 16. Square root of 16 is 4. 4 minus 2. Is it 2? Yes. How about negative 1? 5 times negative 1 plus 6 square root minus x. X is negative 1. Is it equal to 2? 6 minus 5 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. Minus minus become plus 1. Is 1 plus 1 equal to 2? Yes. Both of them are solution. And then we finish the problem. If you can understand this, could you type E in the chat? Okay, good. Number 5, inequalities. Wow, let me see. 930. How about, do we have time to go over all of them? Maybe, yeah, maybe we can do it. Okay, all right, let's see. How do we break absolute value inequalities? So remember distance, right? Distance small, okay? Distance less than a number, which means distance is small. Distance small, so distance small inside. Because think about it, origin right here. Distance is the distance between x and 0. If distance is small, then you are near the 0. You're near the 0, so it's inside this range minus a and a. So we could put, this is the same as negative a less than x less than a. If you have absolute value of x is greater or equal to a, so this means distance is big, well then we get the outside. Well, what's outside mean? Negative a and a, outside. And do you include the endpoint? See, if you have equal, then you include the endpoints, right? So therefore, x less than equal to negative a, or x is greater or equal to a. So this is the rule. Now we look at our problem. So isolate the absolute value term. So absolute value term. And that when you break the inequality, you follow these rules. Okay. So first, let's isolate it. We add 5 on both sides. 3, the value of 2x plus 1, less than 1 plus 5 is 6. And then, both sides we have the 3. So both sides divided by 3. When you divide it by a positive number, you won't change the inequality. But when you divide it by a negative number, remember to flip the inequality sign. Okay, so divided by 3, it won't change the inequality sign. 6 over 3 is 2. So we have isolated. Now we break them. See? Distance is smaller than 2, so it's small, right? It's small. Small is inside. Well, inside means see, this number is 2. That means it's between negative 2 and 2. So you get a compound inequality. Solve for x. So we subtract 1. We get negative 3 less than 2x less than 1. And then divided by 2. And 2 is a positive number. It won't change the inequality. We get negative 3 half less than x less than 1 half. And you write it down using interval notation. So parentheses negative 3 half, comma, 1/2 parentheses. Okay, so -3/2 and 1/2. We don't include the endpoint, open circle. So this is the region between them. So this is part A. If you can understand part A, could you type A in the chat? Okay, good. Next problem. Similar. So we isolate the absolute value. So S7 on both sides. We get 20 divided by 5. So 2x minus 3 divided by 5, we get 4. Okay? See, distance is bigger equal to 4. Big, big. Outside. What outside means? That means whatever inside the absolute value. Okay, put it down here. And less than equal to minus 4. Or the 2x minus 3 greater equal to 4. Okay. And then we solve for x. So F3 on both sides. And then divided by 2. Here, F3 on both sides. Divided by 2. So is less than or equal to -1/2 or greater or equal than 7/2. So minus infinity to -1/2 brackets because we want to include the endpoint. Union brackets 7/2 comma infinity. So this is part B. If you can understand part B, could you type B in the chat? Okay, good. Thank you. Let's keep going. Yes, we only have 3 of you, so thank you so much to be here. I really hope your classmates, even though they didn't join us tonight, I really hope they watch the recordings because I hope they can do well on the exam. Okay, find the equation of the line passes through those 2 points. So you have 2 points and you want to find the line. Well, first of all, you want to find the slope, right? Slope is change of y over change of x. Change of y. Use the y coordinate of the second point, which is 7, minus the y coordinate of the first point, which is 4, over the x coordinate of the second point, minus the x coordinate of the first point. Okay, 7 minus 4 is 3. -3 minus negative become positive 2. Ooh, that is -1. So the slope is -3. So once we get the slope, and we can use point slope form. So we just pick one point. Okay, you can pick the -2, 4, or -3 and 7. Looks like the 2, 4 is easier. Okay, so use the point slope form. Y minus the y coordinate of the point equals the slope times x minus the x coordinate of the point. So y minus 4 equals -3 times x. Negative become positive. And keep going. Distribute -3x. -3 times 2 is -6. F4 on both sides. We have y equals -3x. -6 plus 4 is -2. So this is the answer. If you can understand problem 6, could you type 6 in the chat? Good. Let's keep going. Alright, so application problems. And I would say this problem is challenging because we call session 1.3. We talk about a lot of type of application problems, and you don't know which one I'm gonna ask you on the exams. So I hope you review the session 1.3. Okay. In this practice exam, I only ask you how many problems? Three problems, but review more. Okay. Because I might not ask you these types on the exam. I may ask you different ones. Okay. A family has a monthly mortgage payment of $760, which is 16% of its monthly income. What is the family's monthly income? Well, monthly income, you can let X be the family's monthly income. And monthly income times 16% is 760. This is what the first sentence tells us. Mortgage payment of $760 is 16% of the monthly income. 16% is the same as 0.16. Solve for x, both sides divided by 0.16. So x equals 760 over 0.6. So for application problems, it's okay to get decimals. Okay, so let's see. We might get decimal or we might not. Okay. Don't forget to grab your calculator. No graphing calculator, but scientific calculator. Here we're using 760 divided by 0.16. Oh, you see 4,750. Yes. So that is the family's monthly income. If you can understand this, could you type A in the chat? Thank you. And so we call the formula sheet I asked you. I give you two-dimensional geometry figures, and the three-dimensional geometry figures. So make sure you can remember the formula of them, right? Remember this one? You have the square, the rectangle, the circle, and the triangle, and parallelogram and trapezoid. Make sure you can remember the area and perimeter. For the three-dimensional geometry figures, such as cube, rectangular solid, circle, cylinder, and sphere, make sure you can remember the volume. Okay. And also these formula temperature, Fahrenheit is 9/5 Celsius plus 32. Simple interest equals principal times annual interest rate times years, number of years. Compound interest, the balance equals the principal times 1 plus the annual interest rate over the number of compoundings per year. All raised to the power of n, the compounding per years, times t. T is the times in years. And distance equals speed times time. Okay. So temperature, 66.1 Fahrenheit, converted to Celsius. So Fahrenheit equals, you remember what's the formula again? Is right here. 9/5. See? 9/5 C plus 32. 9/5 C plus 32. Fahrenheit is 66.1. We are looking for Celsius. So subtract 32. 66.1 subtract 32 is 34.1. So now both sides. So 34.1, we multiply by 5 and divide by 9 to get rid of 9/5, right? We multiply by the reciprocal. So you both sides multiply by 5 over 9. 5 over 9. See, your 5 cancel, your 9 cancel, you get C. So, okay, what is C? 34.1. Where's my calculator? 34.1 times 9 divide what is it? Times 9 or times 5? Times 5. Okay, go back. Times 5 and divided by 9. See? 18.94 degrees Celsius. Okay, so this is part B. If you can understand B, could you type B in the chat? Good. Okay, keep going. Automobile dealer has 200,000 of inventory in minivans and alternative fluid vehicles. The profit on a minivan is 20%, and the profit on an alternative fluid vehicle is 30%. The profit for the entire stock is 27%. How much was invested in each type of the vehicle? So we have two types, okay? And you put some money here, you put some money here, and the total is 200,000. So let's say we don't know each account, so we don't know like each type how much money we put in. So let's give them a variable. So let it be X. If we put X amount here, then the other kind will be 200,000 minus X. And then profit is the amount, and then you multiply by the rate. Okay. Therefore, the profits from the first the minivan. Okay, the profit for the minivan is X times 20%. And the profit of the alternative fluid vehicles vehicle is 200,000 minus X times 30%. Overall, the entire stock is 27%. So entire stock $200,000 multiplied by 27%. Okay, so 20% is like 0.2x, and then this is 200,000 minus x. 30% is like 0.3, and 200,000 times 27% is 0.27. Okay, so find the x. Distribute 200,000 times 0.3 is 60,000. Why? 2 times 3 is 6. And then the 0.1. 0.1 means you move your decimal 1 digit in front of that. So that's why you get 60,000. And then minus 0.3x. Well, this one, 2 times 27 is 54. But then you move the decimal 2 digits. So that's why you get 54,000. Let's combine the like terms. 0.2x minus 0.3x is negative 0.1x. And you subtract 60,000 on both sides. You get negative 6,000. So x is both sides multiplied by negative 10, or both sides divided by negative 0.1. Then you get negative cancel. Maybe let me write it down. Okay, divided by negative 0.1. You divided by 0.1 is the same as multiplied by 10. So 60,000. So that is x. And then the 200,000 minus x will be 140,000. Okay, so this is in the amount invested in minivan, and this is the amount invested in alternative field vehicles. Okay. All right. So if you can understand part C, please type C in the chat. Okay. In class, we did some problem like this, like example 7. This is inches. So inches is the principal times interest rates. And because we're doing 1 year, so usually we times t. T is the number of years. So if it's 1 year, then t is like 1. And the inches is just the principal times the interest rates. In our class, we also have 2 accounts, right? So you let x be the amount in the first account. And then because the total is 10,000, so 10,000 minus x is the amount in the other accounts. And then you multiply by the interest rate, okay, the first account, x dollars multiplied by the interest rate plus second account, the principal is 10,000 minus x times the interest rate equals to, you see the interest is $508.75, and then you can also solve for x. So this is similar to our in-class problem. And your exam will have some problem like this. Okay, good. 2 more problems. I think today we can finish on time. The sum of 3 consecutive integers is 804. Consecutive, which means, okay, 1, 2, 3 is consecutive numbers. But when you add them up together, 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, right? So we want the 3 consecutive integer. The sum is 804. Let's say let x be the first consecutive integer. Then the second one will be x plus 1. And then the third one will be x plus 2. Right, everybody? If x is 50, and then the next number is 51, 51 is like x plus 1. And then the next number, 52, 52 is like x plus 2. The sum of them, see, x plus 1 plus x plus 2, the sum of them is 804. Well, combine the like terms, x, 3x. Combine the constant, 1 plus 2 is 3. Subtract 3 on both sides. 3x is 801. Both sides divided by 3. Calculator, where are you? 801 divided by 3, 267. Okay, so therefore, what are those numbers? The 267, 268, and 269. These are the 3 numbers. Okay, everybody? If you understand this problem, could you type D in the chat? Thank you. Okay, good. One last problem. Find the standard form of the equation of circle with the given endpoints of the diameter. So you have a circle. Now we know the endpoint of the diameter. Okay, so how do we find the center? Do you see the center is actually the midpoint of those 2 points? Well, to find the midpoint, you are doing the average. Okay. So you look at your x values, add them up, divided by 2. You look at the y values, add them up, and divided by 2. The average of the x values and the average of the y values. So therefore, -1 plus 7 divided by 2, 4 and 6 divided by 2. -1 plus 7, that is 6, divided by 2, 3. 4 plus 6 is 10, divided by 2, 5. So this is the center. Okay, everybody? And then you recall, what is equation of circle? Suppose we have the center AB, then and the radius is r. Equation of the circle, x minus a squared plus y minus b squared equals r squared. How do we get that? Okay, what is the property of circle? Let's say a point xy is on the circle. The distance of the point xy to the center, the distance is always equal to the radius. And what is the distance formula? The square root of x, difference of x coordinate square plus difference of y coordinate square, and that is always equal to the radius. Therefore, you both sides square, then you get the equation of the circle. Okay. So now we need to find the radius. There are two ways to find the radius, or three way. Okay, you can find the distance between one point on the circle and the center. That will give us the radius. Or you can find the distance of the second point on the circle and the center. You also get the radius. Or you can find the distance between those 2 points on the circle, and that will give you the diameter. And your radius is going to be the diameter divided by 2. Okay, so you can use whichever you like. In this case, because my center is an integer and my point is also integer, I can pick the point -1,4 in the center. That means the radius. So square root of the difference of the x coordinates. So 3 minus -1 square plus the difference of the y coordinates, 5 minus 4 square. And 3 minus -1 is the same as 4 square. 5 minus 4 is 1 square. 4 square is 16. 1 square is 1. So the answer is square root of 17. Now we're ready. Plug in. My center, A is 3, B is 5. So x minus A is 3 square plus B is 5 square equals to the radius. The radius square root of 17, but you put the radius square, which is 17. So this is the equation of the circle. Okay, so kind of be careful here if the problem on the exam, okay, let's say if the problem on the exam, you have a -3 here, then this one will become positive because you're doing -3. It will make it to be +3. Okay, just be careful. And if in exams your center is not an integer point, maybe your center is a fractions, well then you might not want to work with fractions. But because the diameter, you see those 2 points, they are integer points, so you can find the diameter. D is the distance of those 2 points, and then your radius is 1/2 times the diameter. Okay, so you can do that. Like the solution. So the solution of the practice exams, I was doing the diameter. See, I computed the distance of those two given points, and I got my diameter was square root of 68. Radius is 1/2 of the diameter, so 1/2 times square root of 68. By the way, please don't put this in your calculator. I don't want a decimal number. Okay, I want the exact answer. So you can play with that. 68 is actually 4 times 17. And square root of 4 is 2. You see the 2 and the 1/2 cancel. We get square root of 17. So when you put in square root of 17 in our equations of circle formula, square root and square cancel, you get 17. So therefore, this is the answer. Okay. So your answer, you can erase the square root of square, and then you just get 17. So you have, oops, yeah. So you get x minus 3 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 17. And that is the final answer. So this problem, make sure you can remember the midpoints formula and the distance formula and the equation of the circle. If you can understand this problem, could you type B8 in the chat? Thank you. So we have finished all the problems on the practice exams. Do you have other questions? No? Yes, no? Colin, Caleb, Quinton, feel free to unmute. Do you have other questions?
I don't have any.
I don't have any other questions either.
Okay, great. So, will you be in your office tomorrow if I have questions tomorrow? Yes. So, tomorrow I will be in my office from 10 to 12, and then from 1 to 2, and then after 3:15. Yes. Okay. So, have a good night. Bye. See you on Wednesday at 9:50. Bye.